Hello and welcome to Left, Right and Centre this Monday evening. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. Aruna Shanbaug, the face of the euthanasia debate in India, died today 42 years after being raped, strangled and left in a vegetative brain dead state. She was cared for till the end by her faithful colleagues and friends, the nurses at KEM Hospital, where she was a staff nurse. Her death brings an end to her agony, but does it also make a powerful case for legalising active euthanasia? That's our first debate tonight. Also, as three senior bureaucrats are caught in the crossfire between the Delhi government and the Lieutenant Governor, and another is issued a warning for being inappropriately dressed for the Prime Minister, our babus increasingly coming under attacks from the political class for not towing their line. That's also on the show tonight. And the ICSE and ISC results are out. The toppers score unbelievable above 99% marks. Shogota and Orko join us later on the show to talk about their success as well. But first, our big story tonight. Aruna Shanbaug died today 42 years after she was raped by a ward boy who also choked her with a dog chain, which left her brain dead and in a coma. She was looked after faithfully all these years by her colleagues who loved her even when her family would no longer visit. In life uncomprehending, Aruna became the centre of a national debate on euthanasia. But today, her death brings an end to her agony, but it also poses uncomfortable questions to us as a society.
आज इतने सालों तक हमने उसकी सेवा की है तो वो तो थोड़ा मन में आएगा कि आज अरुणा अपने बीच में नहीं है। वो खाने के बाद उसके फेस पे एक समाधान सा हम लोग ने देखा है, स्पेशली नॉनवेज फूड और स्वीट के लिए, जो अदर फूड्स के लिए इतना she was not comfortable.
Parade not just took care of Aruna Shanbaug for over 25 years, but kept her alive literally. For nurses at KEM Hospital in Mumbai, this is a death in the family. In coma for 42 years, now no more. 67-year-old Aruna Shanbaug died on Monday morning.
For 42 years, KEM Hospital here in central Mumbai was Aruna Shanbaug's home. Today, as she leaves for the last time, the nurses and doctors who took care of her say they are confident that Aruna knew that she was loved and cared for till the end.
Aruna was just 25 when she was raped and strangled with a dog chain by a ward boy at the hospital. The assault left her in a permanent vegetative state, her case triggering a raging debate on euthanasia in the country.
अंत तक उसका देखभाल किया, जो करने का था हम लोगों ने, जैसा पेशेंट को वैसा हम लोगों ने, हमारी कोई रिश्तेदार है उसका हम लोग ख्याल किया.
It was this care that the Supreme Court took note of while rejecting author Pinky Virani's plea for euthanasia. It even noted that in spite of being bedridden for 37 years at the time, Aruna did not have a single bed sore. It's marvelous, said the court. In 2011, the author of Aruna's story moved Supreme Court pleading mercy killing for her, and Aruna became the centre of a national debate on euthanasia. But it was her friends and colleagues, the nurses at KEM Hospital, who fiercely resisted Virani's position.
The passive euthanasia law is her law. When Government of India endorsed the passive euthanasia law in the Rajya Sabha last year, they honoured and validated my Aruna Shanbaug. She's given India a great gift while leaving. I think her job is done.
But hearing the news of her death, the long-lost family turned up, claiming the right to perform last rites.
इतना सालों तक नहीं आया. मैं जब इधर ज्वाइन होकर 70 हुए, हम प्रशासन के भी ऑब्जेक्शन किया कि उनको आह्वान देने की जरूरत ही नहीं थी. अगर आ ही गए तो ह्यूमैनिटी, मानुष के कारण, ह्यूमैनिटी के कारण, इंसानियत के कारण उनको दर्शन लेने दो, जाने दो बस.
Aruna was cremated at Bhoiwara this evening, her blood relatives and KEM Dean Dr. Avinash Supe lighting the funeral pyre. But Aruna's departure has left a void in ward number 4 of KEM Hospital, her home for most of her life.
Well, joining us tonight on our first discussion, Namrata Kasabe, who was posted in the same ward as Aruna Shanbaug and knew her for over 2.5 decades. Dr. Devi Prasad Shetty, Director of Narayan Rudalaya, joins us as well, as does Bachi Karkaria, Senior Journalist. We're also going to be joined by Dr. Surendra Thelia, Secretary of the Society for Rights to Die with Dignity. But Namrata, let me begin with you first. You were someone who knew Aruna very well indeed. You were in that ward with her for many years. Do you believe that she was in fact deeply loved and cared for till the very end? Namrata?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Namrata, आप हमें बताएं, आप तो अरुणा को बहुत अच्छी तरह जानते थे, आप वो वार्ड में थे उनके साथ, एकदम आखिरी वक्त तक उनकी देखभाल की नर्सों ने वहाँ पे?
हाँ, मैं उन्हें 27 इयर्स से जानती हूँ।
और थोड़ा बताएंगे,
हेलो,
वो तो खुद वेजिटेटिव स्टेट में थी,
हेलो,
लेकिन क्या देखभाल किया गया उनका?
देखभाल जैसा ये हादसा हुआ तो वो 73 में हुआ, तभी वो सरोदय हॉस्पिटल में थी घाटकोपर में। तो उसके बाद हम लोग ने सब नर्सेस ने ऐसा जोर लगाया कि उनको केईएम में लाया जाए। तो 77 में उसको केईएम में लाया, वार्ड नंबर 4 में रखा। तो तभी से हम लोग ने उसकी अच्छे तरह से देखभाल की। उनको हम लोग हमेशा अच्छे से स्पॉन्ज देते थे, खाना खिलाते थे, सब उसको मतलब 42 ईयर्स से उनको कभी इतना केयर किया कि बेड सोर नहीं हुआ। सब कुछ हम लोग उसको अच्छा से करते थे एज अ फैमिली मेंबर। वो हमारी सिस्टर थी, माँ थी, ऐसी मतलब हम लोग उसको बहुत केयर करते थे।
बहुत केयर करते थे and frankly your efforts are appreciated by everybody on this day, but it's a day that Aruna's death also raises lots of uncomfortable questions. Bachi Karkaria, truly heartening to see the devotion with which the ward staff of KEM Hospital looked after Aruna for over 4 decades. No credit perhaps should be taken away from that, but Pinky Virani, who documented her story, clearly had a very strong counter view.
Yes, I'm aware of that counter view, and we were the ones who have given a lot of publicity and a lot of space to Pinky's story, which I, as an editor at that time, sincerely believed in. I still think that she fought a very noble fight in the best interests of Aruna as far as Pinky was concerned. So I will not doubt any bona fides of Pinky Virani. I know that the nurses are at the center of the congratulatory messages about how well they looked after her, that she didn't have a bed sore. But ultimately, when we're really talking about a life with dignity, I think Pinky did have a very strong point when she pleaded with the court for passive euthanasia, because Aruna was in this persistent vegetative state. I mean, there can be two opinions on what the nurses had to say about her response to stimulus, about the fact that she enjoyed the food, whether her so-called responses were just reflex motor responses. And I think it's really very important that we look at this whole issue of euthanasia once again, now that Aruna Shanbaug has passed.
Well, in her death, perhaps she has brought back the spotlight very firmly on the debate and whether there is a need to legalize active euthanasia, as it were. Dr. Devi Shetty, in your opinion, as a medical practitioner, is it fair to allow a human being to live in a vegetative state for so long? We're talking about someone who has been without vision, without motor skills, without any kind of brain function for 42 years.
I'm not talking about Aruna Shanbaug. It's an exceptional case. I'm talking about legalizing euthanasia. This is totally unacceptable in our country for the time being, at least for the next decade or two, till the society matures, legal system matures, political system matures. We simply can't take chances, because as a doctor I have been involved with so many sensitive matters when a patient is in critical condition, when there is a big wealth involved. The friction is palpable between the family members, and at that moment, if somebody is given the power to decide to take away the right to resuscitate or right to perform a procedure to save lives, there are many things which can be done, which can be shown as a kind of a legalized euthanasia, but it can be exploited. We are not still a responsible society yet. I strongly disagree with any decision about legalizing euthanasia at the current context in our country.
Okay, fair point, Dr. Devi Shetty, and I'm going to take that across to Dr. Surendra Dhelia, who joins us tonight, who's been campaigning for the choice to die with dignity. Dr. Dhelia, what do you make of Dr. Devi Shetty's point that it is our system, our legal system, perhaps even our medical system, that is not mature enough to perhaps negotiate between the cases where perhaps there could be many other motivations, many other implications of, say, turning off or terminating someone's life?
I respectfully disagree with Dr. Devi Shetty for the simple reason that whatever can be used can always be misused. You know, we have Transplantation of Human Organ Act, where a person, if he is brain dead, a committee, an expert committee examines the patient who is brain dead on 2 occasions at least 6 hours apart, and then certifies that the patient is brain dead, and in that case his organs could be removed. Even that could be misused. So, you know, just because something can be misused is not reason enough to ban its use. For example, you know, Dr. Devi Shetty regularly uses knife to save lives, and the same knife could be used to kill others. Are we going to ban knives? No. So let's have proper safeguards, let's have appropriate safeguards. It should be properly regulated, and there should be stringent punishment for infringement of these laws. So we have got to have laws in respect of voluntary euthanasia, where we have appropriate safeguards, where it is properly regulated.
I'm going to let Dr. Devi Shetty.
Ankita, I'd like to come in here.
Yes, Bachi, go ahead.
Ankita, I'd like to come in here. Ankita, when Parliament reacted to the Supreme Court judgment, then they really did, even though a subsequent judgment said that the 2011 case was not decided with the full, with considering all the aspects that they should have. Parliament did come in and say that that they laid down a whole lot of safeguards. They said that even if you have a next friend, as was the case with Pinky, it still had to go. Each case had to go to the High Court. It had to be decided by the judges, by a bench of at least 2 judges. There had to be a panel of 3 doctors. So once you have checks and balances in place, we really shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as my colleague has said.
Okay, fair point, Dr. Devi Shetty.
And you are showing, you are showing those visuals of Aruna. I mean, frankly, I really don't think we should be showing these visuals, after she has died, because she has already lived a life without dignity, and I think we should afford her this dignity in death and not show these visuals now. But those visuals being shown really make a case for the kind of so-called life that she was living, and should someone really be put through this, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, but for 42 years.
Right.